Dear colleagues, we start our next briefing on action plan of Kyiv City Administration to reform the housing and utility sector in the city. Please welcome Petro Panteleev, Deputy Head of Kyiv City State Administration.
Will talk about the action plan of Kyiv City authorities to reform the Housing and Communal Household of Kyiv, Russia.
Good afternoon. It was really the correct way of stating it. We are just on the way to reforming the utility and housing sector in the capital of Ukraine, given the sheer size and complexity of the structure that really needs a very balanced and serious attention. First of all, we do comprehend and understand our responsibility for the actions and changes that we're about to introduce in the system, given that it exists and is regulated by the legislation developed a long time ago already in Soviet times. This is a problem, but still, in absence of other legislation, we need to work to the standards we have before us at the moment. Because of that, we have set up for ourselves the 3 priority directions for the next close future. First of all, streamlining the system of administration of the housing and utility sector in Kyiv. Second, establishing a system of communication between the service providers and the consumers of these services, for the benefit of which utility services operate. And the third line is energy saving. Now a bit more detail for each of these. Why reforms? Before going to serious institutional and other changes within the scope of reform, we first need to streamline the provision of utility services of certain level and of certain price. At this moment, the system in Kyiv involves a variety of suppliers, public, private, communal ones, that profess different approaches to tariffs, to the use of funds obtained as payments for such services. And we have already seen that in many such supplier companies, administrative costs by far rank the first among other costs that should be otherwise directed on the improving of the quality of services. With the view of that, our first-hand decision is to cut on administrative costs. Among services suppliers, we will reduce the number of legal entities in the field. Among the suppliers, particularly as regards households of communal type. At the moment, we have 40 of them, and more than half of them were really living out of the money paid by local residents as tariffs for their utility services. This is why we are going to reduce the number of managerial staff, transport, offices, and at the same time, the whole of the personnel dealing with services delivery, from janitors to specialists to accountants, will be retained. There are informations flowing around that utility managing units will be scrapped. Now they will still exist. We will increase their accessibility. We will work on the improving of this self-servicing side of it. But at the same time, we will reduce exactly those costs that are directly related to administration, to legal support, to the making of certain managerial decisions. These things will be left with just one specialized body within each district in the city. And to make the system more manageable, to make tariffs more justified. These are our objectives. We want to reduce the administrative cost from the current 60% level in the total tariff scale to not more than 15%. We need to elaborate a unified approach towards tariff setting on utility services and payment for households. They should be regulated. There should be total supervision of how funds, proceeds from that, are spent. There should be itemized procedures on how to collect these funds and how to spend them for the benefit of local community. And this is just the first necessary prerequisite step that concerns relevant quality of services. The utility servicing companies will be also involved to provide utility services, and we will also invite other organizations capable of providing better quality services than the existing utility organizations. We really need to drastically change the situation on this market, and it is not an administrative decision, an administrative solution to that. We need to introduce competition in the area, and not until that we will see an improvement to the quality and the pricing of services. So at this time, we'll have our utility companies as principal services suppliers, but we are definitely going to introduce other commercial companies offering similar services to show the competition. Every one of us, as a condominium owner, as a municipal housing resident, has always the right to put this question of what I'm paying for, what services I am to receive, what about their quality standards, what should I do if the services I have received are of substandard quality. These are the questions, and we need to provide answers to our populations. Coming back to the competitive market, such attitude will provide end consumers with long-wanted, long-desired option, selective option. Current barriers to condominium development are also because of the lack of competition on the utilities market. By establishing a condominium ownership scheme, its co-owners need certain qualifications for that, they need certain time for that, they need people, and then these condominium owners will have to enter into contracts with services suppliers. And it is this diversification of the supply scheme will provide necessary and vital solutions to the problem. First of all, this concerns definitely condominiums. The second line of activity about communication possibilities, communication lines with the public. We owe this for quite some time to our residents. On one side, we have utility companies complaining about the lack of funds, about poor payment discipline, and on the other hand, we have local residents totally discontent with the extent, range, and quality of services. We have people who do not understand why do they have to pay that much for this or that service, and there is clearly a lack of understanding, communication, and possibilities of development for both sides of that situation. And in this regard, we see several measures to be taken. Simply put, every resident should be able to receive information about real costs of maintenance of his or her residential building. We've started using the information boards in residential houses and condominiums to provide people with such information. Be it the cleaning of the house, communal areas and areas around. The situation is really abysmal, by the way, because I myself visited many districts and checked many residential buildings to see that they are really unkept and in neglected states. And such information should be made available. And surely we need to tell people about the maintenance cost and the amounts of unpaid overdue payments owed to utility companies. Actually, we see the start of some radical changes in relations between the residents of the cities and the monopoly suppliers of utility services. For this purpose, we need to develop an efficient system to protect the rights of residents in their relations with these monopoly suppliers. There will be a range of measures on that, and this week we are going to finalize our, as we call it, utility services restoration map. It will be an interactive map which will show all the out-of-order situations in each of the city districts. It will be accessible to everyone for the people to see, say, what is the reason of the disruption of supply of a given service. It will provide for a transparent system of information for every citizen, and will also allow people to demand recalculation of their payment tariffs with a view of certain periods for which services have been disrupted. And we will really arrange a line of communication with local residents to have this kind of public control and oversight. Within the scope of our staffing capacities in the city state administration, we will establish a group to work on improvement of the quality of services. We will call this would-be body a municipal inspection, and we hope to start it already this year. The body will execute total control of utility services suppliers, because we see that only total controlling measures will be able to bring some long-desired improvements in this sphere. And there are also other ways of communication, like information raising, awareness raising, and feedback possibilities to improve ultimately our utility sector, to make it more client-oriented. And the third line of activity will involve energy-saving measures. It is not necessary to speak more about that, because everyone, I think, knows of the need to save energy resources. And the city of Kyiv is currently the major consumer of natural gas for heat, used for heat generation. Our housing utility sector is the major consumer of gas indeed, and we need to change our attitude towards energy resources and ways of their consumption. We've planned a range of measures to really regulate many aspects of energy carrier spending. First, it will include really strict accounting, then more efficient technologies, and third, the use of gas replacing possibilities. The number of houses where heat meters are installed is really negligible for the city of this size. We need to rectify the situation in the shortest possible time, because without that we won't be able to see our real energy balance of the city, of the districts, of each residential building. And also, by introducing these metering capacities, we will provide people with possibilities of paying exactly for what they have consumed, not what they were told to pay. And we plan to spend the next year for providing these metering capacities in each residential building. It surely won't be possible to do with Kyiv city budget, and for that purpose we are in the process of negotiating the question with other government institutions and bodies to provide these heat meters in the coming year for the maximum number of buildings. Actually, the plan is to start the new heating season with fully equipped residential fund. As regards reduction of gas consumption, there are many technologies. There is a variety of technologies developed worldwide, from weather-based automation devices. We've piloted it already in some buildings to see where it will work more efficiently. It is also thermal insulation of outside walls, of pipes. And these are necessary measures which will surely have an impact on the amounts payable for utility services by city residents. As regards gas replacement options, we are designing a number of objects, mostly in the social sphere, those in the outskirts of the city, given that it is about solid fuel-fired boiler plants, and they will be more suitable for remote suburban areas rather than for the already packed downtown area. We need to make our choice, and we need to be cognizant of environmental impact. And surely we need to think of gas replacement options, given particularly the range of national programs launched each year for this purpose. And this surely has to provide us with possibilities of better using heat pumps, pellet or solid fuel-fired boiler plants, solar panels. By the way, panels are still something not usual for us, but we need to work in this direction. So this is exactly what I had to say to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Good afternoon. About new bills for the apartments which we will receive, and there are rumors that two heating plants in Kyiv will use heavy oil as fuel, but yeah, we have two heating plants which can use heavy oil, but unfortunately, these are only the emergency fuel for these power plants and for these heating plants, and it is extremely expensive, which we cannot allow to happen. As for the housing bills, the municipal authorities are not very happy with the frequent changes in our template for the bill, which you receive each month. And we understand why the government has introduced changes into this bill, and there you have a separate item which is payment for heating and heating in your house and actually for the gas. Currently, we have changed the order of items, but they are not changed essentially. You pay for services and around the building. You pay for water supply, for heating supply. Currently, we have led trainings for post office employees, and they are instructed not to reject your payment if you have made some mistake. Please do not be afraid of any mistakes, and if you have not paid correct amount, then or overpaid, your money won't be lost. Also, we extended the period during which you can pay your bills and get a discount for the next month, like privilege discount. My question is that you mentioned that legal entities will be cut down. I meant legal entities. Could you provide examples? We won't have heads of the objects, and we have so-called JACs, that is, these are utilities companies which maintain your building, and there are heads of these companies. And there is administrative personnel which do not cooperate, which do not work with people, and there is a personnel in this municipal, in these utilities companies which deal with the people. There should be cleaning personnel, there should be maintenance personnel, etc. That is, we will cut down only the administrative positions. We have counted that we will be able to save from 7 up to 10 million hryvnias per year, and those funds will be spent on maintenance and repair. Also, you mentioned meters. Who will finance installation of those meters? This will be, who will pay for them? The state budget and utilities companies. So we won't fund meters. Also, you mentioned that there should be doors repaired and warmed up. The windows should be warmed up. Who will pay for it? I believe that this will be a joint program of the municipal authorities and residents of the houses, because I believe this should be joint work, and I think that funds of municipal companies maintaining the houses, that funds which we will save, they will be directed to this warming up of the houses. And our idea is that the residents in apartment houses should unite and think together how to save heat in the house, how to save warmth, and what to do. There are some very simple things which could be done, like installation of new windows, like installation of new doors, or there might be warming up of some walls if residents want to make their wall warmer and warm it up and contribute some money. These initiatives will be welcomed, and in each case we will try to apply combined approach. For example, residents may purchase construction materials. We will carry out construction works. Whether this is acceptable, okay, but if you don't like this approach, then I can tell you that the state budget, municipal budget, won't be able to fully repair all the housing fund in Kyiv. For example, repair of lifts in the houses is very expensive and people are unable to afford it. But for example, if you wish to refurbish the walls in your multi-apartment building, then I think it's affordable for people. Fifth TV channel. I would like to ask a question about lifts. Whether you are saving money, or simply a number of people who complain with improper work of cargo lifts. There was an information that because of saving reasons, cargo lifts are not operating in many houses. But actually, that's not true. We did not try to save money. If your lift does not work, then you should be repaid for, or should not pay for this lift. After the law number 1198 was passed, Kyiv State Administration is not a body which establishes tariffs for municipal utility services. Could you please inform that to inform us how the tariffs will be formed? For example, I compared services for a private house and service tariffs for 3-room flat in an ordinary multi-apartment building, and I have found out that expenses on a separate standing house are lesser than for the flat in a multi-apartment building. So my question is, how that money which we pay, how they are spent, You are right. The law was passed in the law number 1198, which introduced changes to relations between service suppliers and consumers. And now the Kyiv City Administration has no impact on the pricing of heating, water supply, hot water supply, etc. We can influence only the maintenance cost for the buildings. This year, we do not plan any increase in tariffs. The first raise was in July. Then from December you will get new bills. Now the system of service payments has changed. That is, in December, you will pay for heating supplied to your apartment from November, because November is the first whole month when heating is supplied to your apartment. And this, I can assure you, these figures will be rather high. But of course, the quality of these services should be balanced with the high tariff. And in this aspect, the public awareness about their rights, consumers' rights, should be at a proper level. That is, you should know what to do if the service, that is heating, is not supplied to your apartment in a proper way or with a proper quality. In order to request for recalculation of tariff for poor quality heating, you should have you can involve to your neighbors, and you have to file up a special application requesting for recalculation of heating tariff in your building. In previous times, we agreed with the poor services, and because tariffs were low, and it wasn't worth bothering because of that matter. But today, when the cost of those services is rather high, it is worth to fight. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, at 2 o'clock in our schedule, we have another round table. I would like to remind you that